This is the MGTOW Infinium here with another Infinium Free Talk. This Infinium Free Talk is entitled, It's Always Been There. Now, my MGTOW brothers, as we all know, there is a lot of pressure coming from everywhere and anywhere for men to get married these days. It is a lot of pressure for men to get married to women, whether they're single mothers or not, for a variety of reasons. But the central reason, as we all are aware of, is to be enslaved to the feminist plantation state. Because of the current events and because of all the issues like Brittany Renner running around with its stepdaddy season, all these things, you may think, my brothers, that this is an occurrence that has happened in our time. In terms of the latest years of the existence of Me Too, divorce, rape, all those things. But in actuality, my brothers, this pressure to get married and the condescension of men who do not get married has been there all along. It's just that in these days, it is extremely evident that we men are really needed in this society, and particularly in light of all the things that have happened in the last couple of years, that we men are needed as wage slaves. And so therefore the feminist plantation state is doing everything and anything to shame men into, quote unquote, tying a knot. But I will give you two incidences which occurred in my life, which proves to me and should prove to you that this pressure to get married has always been there, and it's always been there for years. And then again, it's just that because of, again, the current events, the situations that are going on, this pressure is at its extreme in these days that we live in. But the first incident occurred with my father, and it occurred at a time when I was a systems manager. I was a IT systems manager way back then, many, many moons ago in a galaxy far, far away, so-and-so, blah, blah, blah. But I, at that time, was more interested in pursuing my knowledge of the technology because it was an age when the internet was just being birthed. It was all sorts of things that were going on. It was right before the dot-com bubble and that bubble bursting. All that was going on. So it was a time of great wonder for me, I would say. So it was a time that I was really diverting a lot of my time and a lot of my effort into understanding technology, understanding how to do things, and understanding how to just live in a technological world which was just evolving. Now, my father, and as I look at him more and more, he had a great desire, which I now consider to be somewhat selfish, for me to carry on the family line. I was, quote unquote, the last of the Mohicans in my family line, and so therefore there was great consideration on his part that I needed to produce sons so that they could carry on the family name, blah, blah, blah. And with that also being said, my father broke the stereotype of the mother being the one that puts pressure on the son to get married. And how mothers, that stereotype goes, that where the mother goes out and farms out the son's name to uh, whoever women they feel are capable of being a good wife, so to speak, to their sons that they want to get married. But in this case, it was my father. And he basically would farm my phone number out to these women, um, who he felt was capable of being a good wife to me. And his main feeling was that I was too involved with the technology. I was too engrossed with the technology, and I should be doing my duty and getting married. And so he felt that he would help me along. So one day he farmed out my number to this, I think it was a bank teller or a woman that worked in a bank. I don't know if she was a teller or whatever she was, but he farmed out my phone number to this woman, and without my knowledge, without me knowing about it. So what happened is this woman called me out of the blue, and I picked up on the phone, and normally I would just, if it was a strange number, I would hang up on the person. But I talked to this woman. She says, "Don't hang up on me. Your father gave me this number, and I just want to talk to you. He said you were a nice man, and this and that, and blah blah blah." And so we got into this conversation, and um, I began to tell her about myself, and then of course they want to know about you first, and then she tells me about herself. And the thing that I can say, that there is a movie called "I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker," and there's a scene in that movie. I believe the actor is Keenan Ivory Wayans. Correct me, brothers, if I'm wrong. But he gets into this scene with this other woman, and she appears to be this awesome, hot woman. And so he texts her, he gets ready to do the jiggy with her. And then she says, "Wait, I got to take this off." And so she begins to take off all this prosthetic leg, this prosthetic, this and that, whatever. She takes off a wig. She's bald, so it just turned out to be a horrible type of thing. And so he ends up running out of the scene, and she's chasing after him on one leg, that type of thing. But that was the same thing that I encountered in this phone call. It was just like that scene. She began to tell me about all these issues that she had. That she was a single mother. She had this issue with her back. She couldn't do this and couldn't do that. And I'm like, oh well, we just may as well forget about it. And so when I told her that, she got mad, of course, and she says, "You just don't you're just a unbearable type of person, and you're just a sucker." And she just tore me down, emasculated me right there. You just don't know how to handle a strong woman, that type of thing. So she did that to me, and so I got her off the phone, and I at that time, um, it was hard to block numbers over a landline, but I found out how to do it, and I had technology to do it, and I did it. And right after that, I called my dad up, and I forbade him from ever giving out my number to any woman ever again without my knowledge. I forbade him, and I told him, "Don't ever do that again." And I believe that that's what started a rift between me and him, because it was my signal to him that I could handle my own business. And then, secondly, that I would make the determination if whether or not I will date or not date. I will go out and do it for myself, and I will try to find a woman myself. And he, from that standpoint, became, I believe, very angry with me internally because I would not again go along with his game plan for me getting married. But as it turns out, again, as I, began to look at things, and as I encountered the woman that really forced me to, well, I shouldn't say forced, I should say that really opened my eyes to the reality of why I should go MGTOW instead of getting married, instead of enslaving myself. Um, Again, he could not understand the reasoning for me not wanting to do my duty, for me not wanting to get involved with women, which in that day I found that again it was virtually impossible to find a woman that would really watch my back, that would really have my sensibilities, my understandings, that would really want to love me for who I am instead of looking at me as a means to get resources out of me, to get whatever technology, whatever she deemed me as sufficient for. Um, that's what I saw, and my father could not see that. And another thing, he would tell me that son, I want you to have a quiver full of boys. And, talking about an arrow quiver, and an arrow quiver is the casing that holds the arrows, which a I guess a marksman or whatever you call them, they have the arrows which they take out and shoot, to their targets. But he was saying that he wanted me to have a lot of boys and this and that. And again, that incident really closed the door to me being that son that would have that quiver full of boys. And again, he eventually got to the place where he called me a failure. I was a lifelong failure. And again, he, in his dying days, begged me to get married, even when he knew that I would not do so because of the way I was. But again, that pressure was there. That pressure had been there, and this is going on about 30, 40 years ago. Now, the second incident was again, I was a IT manager back then, and one day I was sitting in a development meeting with the marketing department, my department, and another department. I can't remember. And we were heavy into discussing all the issues that were going on in the systems and this and that. And I'll back up. There was another guy that worked. He was worked at the place that I worked at, and he was single, and he was in the marketing department, and so he was single, black guy, and this and that, and he just like me was enjoying, doing his work, enjoying his bachelor life, and I was doing the same. I was doing my work. I was enjoying the technological revolution I was in, and this and that, and I really had no consideration of getting married. So he wasn't in the meeting at the time, but I was, and so I was there, and the meeting was well into what it needed to be, and we were heavy into uh, discussing what we needed to discuss. And there was a woman that worked in the marketing department that knew me and knew the other guy, and she was sitting next to me. And all of a sudden, during the midst of this meeting, during the midst of all discussions about the systems, she turns to me and says, "You and so have no intentions to get married." And the meeting stopped just like that. It just stopped, and the focus came on me. And it's like I'm like, I looked at this woman and I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And so she says, "You two just have the intentions to stay bachelors for the rest of your lives, and there are plenty of good women out here." And you two just will not get married. What is wrong with you two? And she goes into this tirade about me and this other guy not being married in the middle of this meeting. And I'm like, what does that have to do with what we're talking about? That has nothing to. That's a personal issue, and that has nothing to do with these systems and these things. And so she's going on, and the people in the meeting are like, yeah, why don't you get married? Why don't you and so get married? And it's like, this is crazy. I'm sitting there with all this idiocy going on about me and this other guy not getting married. And I'm like, what does this have to do with what we're needing to talk about here? And so they went on about 20 minutes, and then we finally got back on track. And where did that come from? But that incident really stuck in my mind, and it's stuck in my mind to this day. And I will say this to say that that, as I know it and as I understand it now, came from the "you must do your duty" pressure that has always been there. And the "do your duty" pressure now is so great that, and because of the internet and because of all the types of things that are out there, TikTok, Pinterest, Instagram, YouTube, all these things, it is really great. It is really great, and it's all over the place. Again, because of the feminist plantation state. But my brothers, again, this was going on about 35 years ago when this happened, and again, that pressure, whether it was family, whether it was in the workplace, has always been there. And so I went through this to just tell you, my brothers, that there is literally nothing new under the sun. The only thing is that the age that we're in is far more, in terms of the pressure that we men are under to do our duty. And I would say to you, my brothers, in passing, that whether it comes from a family member, a father who is begging you to get married so you can carry on the family line, don't do it. Whether it's coming from a coworker who is trying to shame you in the midst of a meeting, don't do it, my brothers. Because again, there is no reason for you to get married. There is no reason for you to enslave yourself. There is no reason for you to be torn apart in a divorce court. My brothers, again, the "do your duty" thing is a phenomenon that has been around for years. But you, my brothers, have no right to be enslaved by this false, what I consider to be a diabolical notion that you owe it to somebody to get married, that you owe it to a woman to get married, that you owe it to that single mother to get married, that you owe society anything and everything, and you must lay down your life to get married. My brothers, again, The best thing that you can do in this day and age is to stay single. And again, consume red pills. And again, adopt a philosophy that can keep you free, called the MGTOW philosophy, instead of laying down your life for something that has no worth, that will not benefit you. My brothers, again, what I'm saying to you is that this is, again, nothing new under the sun, but it is something now that you, in particular young brothers, will face a lot of pressure, a lot of demand upon you to do something in terms of doing your duty and throwing away your life. And I will say to you, my brothers, it's not worth it. This is the MGTOW Infinium, and this has been an Infinium Free Talk. My MGTOW brothers, as always, stay safe, stay strong, stay on the MGTOW path, and remember, MGTOW is the liberation of men's minds. MGTOW cannot and will not be stopped.